Imagine stepping into a medieval castle in the dead of winter. The stone walls are freezing, the wind cuts through every corridor, and survival depends not on gold or armor but on something far more vital. The kitchen here. Heat was life. Without it, no one would survive the cold. When winter descended upon a medieval castle, it wasn't a gentle season of flickering fires and cozy blankets. It was a relentless, bone-chilling struggle. A fight for survival against a cold that could seep into every stone, every corner, every breath. The thick walls, far from insulating comfort, acted like a giant refrigerator. They trapped moisture, chilled the air, and made warmth a precious, rare commodity. You might think the Lord's chambers were the most vital space in the castle, but the truth was far more intriguing. The real heart of warmth, the place where survival was engineered, wasn't gilded or grand. It was smoky, chaotic, and bustling. The castle kitchen. Here heat was not just for cooking, it was a weapon. A silent, brutal force that made life possible in a frozen stone fortress. Step inside, and you would immediately feel the difference. A wall of heat rolled toward you, the air thick with the aroma of roasting meat and baking bread. In many castles, the kitchen wasn't simply a room, it was the thermodynamic heart of the entire fortress. Massive fireplaces burned constantly, ovens glowed red-hot, and every simmering pot, every steaming cauldron, added layers of warmth that radiated through the stone floors and walls. The cooks weren't just feeding the household, they were orchestrating a system of heat that kept the castle alive. Monasteries and larger castles often had a specific room called the calefactory, or warming room. This wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity. Monks and castle staff would gather here to thaw their frozen hands before returning to laborious, sedentary tasks that demanded precision and warmth. Writing parchment with icy fingers. Impossible. The calefactory offered more than comfort. It offered survival, a place where ink wouldn't freeze and parchment wouldn't crack, and where communal life could briefly flourish in the harshest of environments. It was the rare sanctuary in a world ruled by cold. The architecture of the calefactory was simple but effective. A central fireplace consumed a massive amount of wood, radiating a steady, intense heat. Stone walls absorbed this warmth and released it slowly. A medieval thermal battery that kept the room habitable long after the fire had died down. These rooms also served practical purposes. Drying manuscripts, performing repairs, or mending clothes, tasks impossible in frozen chambers. The calefactory represents medieval ingenuity at its peak, a design built to confront extreme environmental challenges with both practicality and social awareness. Yet the calefactory was only part of the story. The great halls featured central hearths, massive open fires burning on raised stone slabs in the middle of the room. Smoke vented through holes in the roof, creating a smoky haze that was tolerated for the sheer benefit of warmth. Here, the Lord and his family would gather. Feasts were prepared, stories told, and justice sometimes delivered. The fire was the social, cultural, and literal center of medieval life, a unifying source of heat in a world dominated by stone and draft. As architectural techniques advanced, these open hearths evolved. Stone fireplaces with protruding smoke hoods directed smoke upward through chimneys, improving air quality while enhancing heat retention. The fireplace hood wasn't just functional, it was often an ornate display of wealth and status, signaling sophistication in design. It allowed private chambers to become warm, clean spaces without filling them with smoke. A monumental leap toward modern heating systems. Beyond fireplaces, medieval builders understood insulation. Interior partitions and floors often used wattle and daub, woven sticks coated in clay, straw, and even animal manure, creating walls that trapped heat and blocked drafts. These walls absorbed warmth from fires or sunlight and released it slowly. A passive thermal solution that complemented the active heat from the hearths. This knowledge of materials and their thermal properties demonstrates a nuanced understanding of physics and environmental design, long before it existed as a formal science. Even heating objects themselves was ingeniously applied. Heated bricks or stones, placed under floorboards or in bed recesses, radiated gentle, long-lasting warmth. Dense materials like soapstone or slate were chosen for their heat retention properties. In some peasant homes, hot stones were buried in pits beneath floors, an early form of underfloor heating. This technique was efficient, sustainable, and integrated seamlessly with daily life, proof that practical intelligence often surpasses modern assumptions about the past. Orientation mattered too. Main living quarters were often positioned to face south, maximizing sunlight during the short winter days. Thick stone walls absorbed this solar energy, releasing it slowly into rooms, providing a gentle, consistent heat without fuel. Large windows allowed light and warmth to penetrate deep into the castle, while shutters or oiled cloth provided insulation when needed. This deliberate alignment with the sun's path shows a sophisticated grasp of passive solar design, a technique still valued in modern sustainable architecture. Portable heat sources added flexibility. Small iron furnaces, braziers, and forges were scattered through workshops and service areas. Blacksmiths, candle makers, potters, and other artisans relied on these task-specific furnaces. not only to perform their work but also to contribute warmth to surrounding spaces. Charcoal-fired forges burned hot and clean, producing controllable heat that radiated into corridors, making lower castle levels more habitable in winter. These decentralized heating methods reveal a strategic, adaptive approach. Warmth wasn't centralized, it was distributed intelligently across the castle's ecosystem. Human activity was also an essential heat source. Daily labor hauling water, chopping wood, tending animals, riding horses kept bodies active and generating warmth. Even sedentary work required subtle movement to stave off cold. Heavy, layered woolen clothing trapped body heat, creating personal microclimates as inhabitants moved through vast, drafty corridors. Physical exertion, combined with architectural strategies, formed an integrated system where human bodies, stone walls, and fire worked in harmony to survive the harsh winter. Candles, often overlooked, contributed as well. Beeswax and tallow candles illuminated dark halls, and their collective heat, though modest individually, added up in well-lit chambers. Placement in candelabras or wall sconces allowed heat to radiate efficiently, complementing the warmth from hearths. This dual-purpose, utility light, and heat demonstrates medieval practicality. Even small, seemingly trivial sources of warmth were harnessed effectively. The brewing and cooking processes themselves generated heat. Brewing ale or beer produced steam and warmth, which spread into adjoining areas. Large copper vats boiling wort radiated significant heat, and fermentation continued to release low-level warmth over days. Kitchens, constantly active with roasting, baking, and boiling, became thermal hubs. Ovens, once heated, retained warmth for hours, drying herbs, warming water, and providing heat for minor household tasks. In many castles, the great hall sat directly above the kitchen or brewing rooms, allowing this warmth to rise naturally and early, an ingenious form of underfloor heating. Every aspect of medieval life was designed, intentionally or not, to fight the cold. Central hearths, calefactories, fireplaces, insulation, heated stones, passive solar orientation, portable furnaces, candles, body heat, cooking, and brewing formed a complex, multi-layered thermal network. Each component, though simple in isolation, interlocked to create a functional, habitable environment inside formidable stone walls. It wasn't luxury, it was necessity, ingenuity, and adaptation rolled into daily practice. This world was far from primitive. It was a place of deep practical knowledge, innovation born of survival, and human ingenuity applied to the relentless forces of nature. Heat was life. The castle kitchen, the hearth, the calefactory, and even the humble heated stone were instruments of survival. They were deliberate, intelligent responses to the challenges of a frozen, drafty world. And they reveal something profound. Medieval society, often dismissed as harsh or backward, possessed a sophisticated understanding of comfort, climate, and resource management. Survival wasn't random, it was engineered. So the next time you imagine medieval life as a cold, miserable existence, think again. Life inside a castle in winter was a carefully orchestrated dance of heat, movement, architecture, and ingenuity. The kitchen was more than a place to cook, it was the heart of warmth, the engine that allowed people to live, work, and even thrive in a frozen stone fortress. It was a space where survival, science, and community converged, proving that necessity is the true mother of invention. The legacy of these medieval innovations persists even today. Central heating, passive solar design, underfloor warmth, distributed heat sources, and efficient fireplaces all trace roots to these early experiments in thermal management. By studying these techniques, we uncover not only the history of survival but also timeless lessons in architecture, engineering, and human creativity. In the end, the story of medieval kitchens is not just about cooking or baking. It's about life itself, about ingenuity against adversity, about finding warmth in a world built of stone. It's a testament to the human drive to survive, adapt, and conquer even the harshest winters. So when you light a fire, boil water, or simply feel the sun on your skin, remember the medieval architects, cooks, and laborers who transformed basic heat into a lifeline, turning a stone fortress into a home against the cold.